the name of Almighty Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. This is the third tutorial in the tutorial series of the CSS. In this tutorial I will cover the classes in ID selector. Now what basically the classes in ID selectors are. The class selector is, let's use, first of all we will work on the class selector. So let's take a div, give it a class name. We can give any name. Class name equal to, in the structure is that right class equal, and then inside the double quotes right give name. Now I will give it name of container. Inside the container I want to have another div and give it a class name of what, content, and inside content I want to put some text. Let's copy this text, paste it here. Now this is our main content, and then I want to have another div, and that will be our class footer content. Okay, and here we write that designed and developed by HPP Soft. So this is our main HTML structure. Let's run this and see. Now you can see nothing is defined, nor the body, where is the footer, where is the header, nothing is defined over here. So let's work on this. Now we have nothing in CSS. In the class selectors list, first of all we will select our body selector. Now body is a type selector. We add background color to gray. Next we are using the class selector. Now this is our first class selector, that its name is container. Now in main.css we write the class selector with dot class name. So what was the name of the class? Container. So let's give it a width of 760 pixels and margin to 0 auto. Now don't worry about what is width, what is margin of margin. Just look at these things, that how we use the class selector, how we use the type selector. Now this tutorial is basically on the selectors, not on the width and margins. So how to use class selector? We use the class and then its name. In the CSS we just we put a dot and then the name of the class container. So what this have selected, it has selected the container class. Now what does it mean that it has selected the entire up to this? Because this div starts here and stops here, so it will affect the entire div. Now let's refresh. You can see that the background has changed and it has brought it into the center. You can see it's in the center. So another we have the content section. Let's put another div here for the div class of what? Class of header, and right here my first website. Put it inside h1 and refresh page. You can see first website. Now our second selector is first we had container selector, second selection is header selector. Now put dot header and text align center and padding of 50 pixels, background color of HBDD4DE. Let's refresh. You can see that this is my first website name, and let's give it 30 pixels or refresh. So now it's small. And the third selector is that our content section. What? The content section. Let's give the header section also border of 1 pixel, solid white. border radius of 10 pixels. Let's make it 30 pixels. See what happens. Now we have 30 pixels of. Okay, so now the third container is our content, so it's also a class, so we use the dot. Now what's in the let's see how much time we have left. Okay, now what does the class selector does is that we using the class we can select multiple things. It means that I have used the container name here, I can use it over here as well, I can use it over here as well. But if we use id, then we cannot use anywhere else. So let's change the content to id, not class. So it's now id. Now to use id we use hash, not dot. So dot content and content margin top 20 pixels, border of 1 pixel, solid white, and border radius of 30 pixels, and color to blue. And let's check it out what it shows us. You can see, okay, the text is out of container, so let's get some padding of 30 pixels. So now it's inside the container, and margin top change it to 10 pixels, padding off. Okay, so here we have content, and at the end we have the footer. It's also a class, so use the dot footer, margin top 10 pixels, padding of 30 pixels, border of 1 pixel, solid white, and border radius of 30 pixels, and padding, everything is added. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, and color of what? Content, color of white, color white. So now our page has got some structure. So now let's check out the differences between the class and id. What is the main difference between the class and id? Between the class and id is that class name can be used many times, but id name cannot be used many times. So let's add this content, control C, to footer, control V. Now the styles should not apply, I think so. It's, yeah, let's see. So now you can see that here is the content. Now it is stylized, but we use the content id for this as well, for this, but it did not get the styles because it's id, and id can only be used for one element, and that has been used for the content, so we cannot use this here over here, footer. And what about the class? So now let's copy this header and give it to the footer. So now it should work. The footer and the header should be stylized in the same way. Let's refresh. Yes, it works. So classes can be used many times for many elements, and id can only be used for one element. That's it for this tutorial.